how you can pick up a 10. Now this is something that very few people are able to do unless they are a 10 themselves. It is very hard to get a 10 or a 9 or a very attractive girl unless you yourself are that guy. The only other hack is game. And that is something that I'm going to try to piece together for you guys today. And I'm going to explain how I managed to pick up a 10. And I'm going to explain from approach, text game, date, and how it will unfold in the end. But before we kick it off, I'm Dave, and this channel is dedicated to giving you no BS, novel dating advice for the modern man. I have a 3-part video series in the description with a free PDF. Just enter your email address. It is in the description, second link in the description. So, how can you pick up a 10? Now, what is a 10? Now, my understanding is that a 10 is predicated on what your mate value is. So last year I had some magical runs. Maybe every 3 to 6 months I strike gold and I manage to pick up a girl that is way out of my league. I pierce the ceiling of what is possible with the tools that I have available, which is my body, just my body, all the tools that I have available at me, my charisma, etc. And the only real hack that I have is game. Okay, so last year I got lucky a few times, and I'm gonna break it down how I met this girl and how I perceive it playing out in the future. Okay, so the approach. How did I meet her? Train station. I got to the train station, and as I do whenever I hit the platforms, I start at one end of the platform and I just walk for a little bit of walk down the platform depending on how much time I have. I was walking along and there was this stunner standing there. Absolute stunner, black dress. She's a professional and probably like a glorified secretary for some big business, right? And I saw when I walked by, absolute stunner. On either sides of her, on one side there was a guy that was with his family. He was married. His wife was there. And you could see that the entire time he was like, and just like looking at his wife, and as soon as his wife looked away, he'd just stare at her, look at her up and down like, oh, she's hot, okay? He was checking her out. That was on her right side. And on her left side, there was this tall sort of, I would say middle-aged man, probably around my age, probably like 6'2", something like that. Relatively, just large, fit-looking guy, right? And his shoulders were just skewed like this, and he was just literally like staring. And when I walked by, he made eye contact with me. He was like, oh. And then he saw me walk by, and then he like looked down because he didn't want me to catch him checking her out, which is very common. Just checking out a girl, guys get a little bit nervous. Okay, so I walked by and I thought, okay, there's a lot of pressure to jump in here. There's a lot of onlookers. There's the guy that's just literally, he's drooling, staring at her on the left, and on the right there's the guy that's drooling over her with his wife and his kids. And so I walked by. And then I look and I'm like, okay, there's a gap in there, okay? So I go in and I ask her about masks. I was like, where's your mask? Have they changed the rules? And I open with a bit of a, you could say an environmental opener, talking about something in the environment and something relative to what is happening at that moment. And then called her a bit of a rebel. She liked my little jokes. She had no problem with the proximity with me. And then the train came, jumped on the train. As soon as we jumped on the train, when we walked on, she continued talking to me and had no problem with me sitting next to her. Another good sign. Sat next to her and we continued talking. The husband literally sat right in front of us on the train with his family, and he kept looking up every now and then. He knew that I didn't know her. The clearly single middle-aged man who was tall, relatively handsome, probably had a lot more money than me, higher mate value I would argue, sat maybe 3-4 seats over there, and his shoulders were skewed like this, and he was just watching and listening to our conversation the entire time. So I had onlookers around. There's a lot of pressure. That's what makes games so much fun, is that you've got onlookers, and you have to do it in a covert way, which gives you plausible deniability. They're like questioning, do I actually know her? Because I'm very indirect, I'm very covert, I'm talking about lots of topics as if like we know each other when we don't know each other. When I was sitting there was a lot of pressure, and she laughed at my jokes. She thought some of the things that I was saying was funny. We talked about a lot of things. She said that she was traveling in the next couple of days. She was going to go interstate. Dealt with the pressure, and as I got off, made another joke. Before I got off, I figured out the time constraint, which is very important. When are you getting off? Very important. You want to number close before your stop comes, or she needs to get off. You don't want to hit the point where she's like, oh, this is my stop, and then she gets up and you're like, oh, quickly get me, let me get your number quickly. You want to be on top of that. So time constraint, when are you getting off? Real simple thing. Ask the question. And then I turns out I'm getting off before her. Got a number, made another joke, at her being naughty, whatever. She giggled, I get off. Okay, so this is the text thread. Nice bumping into you before. She replied literally within, by the looks of things, it looks like literally 1 minute. Then the next day, I went straight into, this is the place that I'd like to take you on Thursday. She said that she was getting back from her trip on that Thursday. And I just went straight in for the date. So I went straight to it. No fluff texting, no messing around, straight to it. Then as you can see, she says, where is it? She just boarded the plane. When she got back, I text her, and turns out I didn't hear from her for 2 days. I didn't panic. I didn't continue texting her. She eventually said that she's exhausted and jet lagged. We were supposed to meet that night when she got back. It turns out that she wanted to reschedule. As you can see, I waited almost an hour. So after the first text, I didn't reply. That was only a couple of minutes, by the way. Yep. And then I waited an hour after her next text. You can see it. And then I said, if you're exhausted, we could just get takeaway and watch a movie tonight. Aren't you back to work Tuesday? So this is, I think it was Sunday. I think it was a Sunday that we're supposed to do it. And the reason why I was asking, firstly, I was pushing for her to come straight out that night, even though she was jet lagged. And what I was putting into that text is I was clearly making it clear that we can get takeaway and come straight back to my place. Now, a lot of guys, if you're going out on a date with what would deem to be a 10 is, it's not just an objective 10, because if she was an objective 10, she wouldn't be a 10. A 10 is I would say, a 10 is like a Victoria's Secret model or Miss Universe, right? This girl could still mix it with those girls, but she would still look kind of plain when put next to the absolute stunners in the world. But standing next to me, I look like a dad, okay? So I am at least 19 years older than her, and she would be surrounded by a lot of professionals. She's way above my mate value, and the only way I got a shot with this girl is through game. It's the only thing. There's no other hacks. There's no other gym hacks, whatever. A lot of the guys out there, they realize that game doesn't work for them, and they say game doesn't work. So then their only solution is make money and hit the gym. That's their only solution. Get jacked, because they're at that threshold, but their game sucks and they don't understand game. They're not willing to put in the time and effort. So therefore, they're just going to continue to increase their mate value so that their lackluster game can't really fix up that, block in that little gap in their results. So I made it very clear. She obviously had no problem with, nope, back to work Thursday, which meant that the reason why I'm asking, are you back to work Tuesday? Because if I'm going to see her Monday night, I want to make sure that she can stay over on the first date. I'm making it very clear in that message. You can come over tonight, we'll get takeaway and watch a movie at my place. If not, I'm double checking that if we're going to have a date on Monday, I want to make sure that you're not working Monday morning and I have enough time to pull you. And unless she's not socially aware, which this girl is, she's intelligent, first world born, first world girl that has perfect English. She understands all the nuances in my text and what I say. She understands my little jokes. She understands all those things. Nope, back to work Thursday. And then she goes, we could, although I'd prefer to go to the restaurant first. And there's a smiley face. She's very aware that I want to pull her, okay? And she's very aware that I'm projecting that I'm of the same level as her when objectively, if we stand next to each other, we're not. She's so much hotter than me on a level that is almost delusional, okay? Then I go back into it. It closes at 9 p.m., so you still have time. It's up to you. Tomorrow is cool though. I'm still hinting that even if she's tired, she can come around, get takeaway and come back to my place. I'm also hinting with that she can stay at my place tonight on the first date. So it's gone from first interaction at the train station to staying at my place. This is another level. I don't expect you guys to get to that level. There's a lot of steps in between. There's a lot of practice in between. There's a lot of experience that you need before you get to this level. But obviously, and then she said, I think tomorrow is better. I didn't reply, did I? I didn't reply. I didn't go, oh, okay, you're the boss. I didn't, placate to her. The next day around lunchtime, I'm going swimming. Let's meet at 5 p.m. I didn't ask her. I told her, let's meet at 5 p.m. And then I say, make sure you're hungry. It's more of a, I'm saying, let's meet, let's do this. I'm making it very clear. And then afterwards, she's obviously like, okay. I'm also saying, make sure you're hungry. She turns up, okay? As she's coming, I find out that the one that I wanted to go to was actually closed because it was a public holiday. And so at the top there, you can see that she sent, there's this one. So she sent me another option of another restaurant we could go to. So she came, we hit the train station. As soon as she arrived, little miniskirt, low cut top, looking like an absolute stunner. Oh my God. And she gave me a hug. She was very bubbly. When we held hands, it wasn't like this, it was more like this. And we walked straight down to the restaurant. We sat down, and then as soon as we finished, we left the restaurant. And I live, because I made it, the date location is only like 2-3 blocks from my place. So the plan was straight after dinner to pull home. While we were having dinner, literally every guy that walked by was staring at her. She was literally that hot. I haven't had that much attention or have that many guys staring in my direction because of the girl in a very long time. You know when you're with a stunner when that happens. We finished dinner, we walked outside, and then I suggested going straight back to my place. She was very good at negotiating out of that, which is great, because a girl that is able to negotiate just makes things so much easier. You don't want a girl that gets nervous like, oh no, I can't believe you asked that. I'm like, let's go back to my place, maybe watch a movie, and hinted that she can stay over. and she negotiated. She's like, oh, you know, it's the first date, you know, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then on the corner, I just said, oh well, I need this, and then I pulled her in and made out with her. There's lots of people walking by. We walked back to the train station. It turns out she had about half an hour, so we went to the park, sat in the park, and made out for maybe 20 minutes. Just, you know, it was great. And then after that, walked her back to the train station, made out again, and then I talked about. We talked about a whole range of things, but I did. She was supposed to, when she gets home, either text me or send me a photo of her cat. She didn't do that, which is a bad sign. The second one was I waited until I think it was 2 days after the date, and I sent the cat. So I sent there was a cat video that we were talking about, and I sent it to her. So it was 2 days afterwards. No response. Okay, no response. And then 2 days again after that, which is the time when we're supposed to be on a date. We are supposed to be on the date. We are supposed to have a date sometime this weekend. And I'm making this video at this particular time for a reason. And 2 days later, change of plans, which is something that I often do. It's more just to check in. It is change of plans, and I'm pretty much direct with this. I'm saying, meet me for lunch, Saturday or Sunday, doesn't matter because it's Friday, right? It's like Saturday lunchtime or Sunday. It gives us more time together than last time. I'm also hinting there that she would have read this, by the way. She would have read this, no response. That if she comes at lunchtime, I'll have more time to pull her. Now, before she got to my place, I discovered that she actually drove to the station, then she had to catch a train. It was a long trip to come and meet me. This was something that I noticed that I was able to get her to do. If I was to go so far away, it might have been almost impossible for me to pull. And that was something that I tried. Logistics is very important. Now, this is where we're at, okay? There's been no response. Now, what you do at this point is you literally just leave it. You either delete the thread, and I don't have her name in my phone. I don't have her name as a contact. To be honest, I don't even know her name. I forgot her name. It doesn't matter because when you get into this, if you're remembering every single girl's name that you're dating and you get rejections all the time, which is part of game, it's like death of a thousand cuts. It really hurts you. You have to just disconnect to some extent and wait it out, because if you wait around for every single girl and you expect them to just to work out, and you're not aware that at any moment they can pull out, then you're not aware of game. You're not giving them their freedom as well, which is another aspect of it, and you're hurting yourself. Okay. So this actually happened to me twice or more last year. And so what happened was twice or more times last year, I would line up a date with a girl that was way above my mate value, and some of them actually came through last year. I had some gold medal runs. I call this is a gold medal run. What they'll do is, if you think about it from their point of view, she went away, she came back, she went interstate, she came back. She is surrounded by friends. Her family put her on a pedestal because females in Western society are the most valuable human beings. Men are kind of dispensable. It's the opposite to a lot of male-dominated societies where men are treated as if they're indispensable. But in female-dominated societies like the Western societies, women they have everything at their disposal. The family realizes just because their daughter's hot that they're more valuable than other people in society. Their workplace becomes more valuable because they have a hot secretary. Their friends want to hang out with them because it gives them more status. If they go to a party, you can't. You have to pay sometimes to have hot girls go to your party. If you have a friend that is hot and she turns up to your party just has more value just by default, okay? So think about it. She was away for a week, she comes back, and she has countless people grabbing at her, wanting her attention. And as soon as she comes back, she comes out for a date with me, and the date went really well. It was actually a good date. We got on really well, and we made out multiple times. It was not awkward in any way, shape, or form. It was almost the perfect date, except for me being able to pull. So if I was to look at this and go, oh, she's not replying, okay, so I've sent those two text messages. I'm not going to send any more. What usually happens is you just play the waiting game and understand that she's busy. She's more valuable in society than you. She's definitely more valuable in society than me. Even if I was a 25-year-old jack, multi-millionaire with 5 PhDs, and I had 1 million followers on social media, I would still to some extent understand that she's the hot girl and she's very valuable, right? She has lots of things to do. She has lots of obligations, social obligations, because everybody wants a piece of her all the time. You need to understand that. If you don't understand that, you're never going to get a shot at girls way above your mate value, and you're never going to be able to sleep with 9s and 10s. You have to understand that, and you have to swallow your ego. You have to play the waiting game. I did that last year several times. One of the girls that I ended up sleeping with last year, she sometimes took 2 to 3 weeks to respond. And then eventually she would come out. And then I would get the second date 2 weeks later or more. And she's like, oh, sorry, I'm a busy girl, I don't respond. Which means she's really hot and everybody is vying for her attention. Okay? And you can't really expect from cold approach, and you just met her, you don't know any of her family or friends, you don't have any foothold in her social group setting, right? You don't have any foothold there. So what you have to do is remember, it was a good interaction, okay? She's busy, she's more important than you, especially in a first world country. Play the waiting game. So what I'm going to do here is, I suspect that I'm not going to get a message this weekend. I probably won't get another message for another 2 weeks. It might take 2 weeks for her to go, oh, Dave, I went out on a date with that Dave guy and that was pretty awesome. I might actually go and have a little sneaky visit and see Dave sometime soon. Then you get your second shot. Now, I suspect, and I believe, because I have the experience, that I will get that text message in the next 2 weeks. And then she will understand on the next date that I see her that I will be pulling her home. She'll be very aware of where I'm at. She even did hint during the date. She goes, oh, are all your friends red-blooded males, like kind of hinting that I'm pretty alpha in the way that I do things. Okay, so she was very aware that I unlike a lot of the other men, especially in a professional setting that should be hanging out with, would be a little bit more fearful of trying to make out or be very physical with such a hot girl so soon. A lot of these guys, they'll take her out to $1,000 dinners and drive their Ferrari around, and 10 dates later they're just trying to push the provider frame and all those other things, and me on the other hand, I'm not playing that game. I'm playing proper game, which is what most men have to play, because most of you guys out there don't drive a Ferrari. You're not in the top 10% of wealthy men in your country, or even 20% of wealthy men, and you're not in the top 20% of attractive males in your country. and you might be either too young, you might be under 25, and you might be over 35. You might not even be in that perfect range of men. You might not be jacked enough. You might have disadvantages, okay? And that's why game is so valuable, okay? So as I said, last year I had to wait upwards of 2 weeks, and it's a very common thing. It happens very it's a very common thing to happen, where you would have to wait upwards of 2 weeks for one of these girls to respond. Once they do, then you know that it's on. You know that they've decided, they've realized, okay, I'm going to come around and see him. You never know. She might have, it might be that time of the month. There might be a party this weekend. One of her best friends might have something on. There might be a family thing. And she doesn't want to text me and let me down. The other aspect of that is, if she doesn't respond and I become needy and I'm like, why are you texting me, where are you going, and I start calling her and harassing her, then she, because she's busy, she will then realize that I'm of such low value, and that's a sign. That's a sign that I'm of lower value, of such lower value, that I'm gonna be very needy and text and call her all the time. And it can be a sign of someone to avoid, okay? So a lot of girls do test you. They test you all the time. They play these games, and they whether they do it consciously or subconsciously, I would say that it's an unconscious thing that a lot of these really hot girls do. So hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. In the past, this has happened many times, and then I have had my shot and I have pulled those girls, and it's been magical. You also need to be aware that just because you sleep with a hot girl like a 9 or a 10 that has everything at her feet and all the options in the world, doesn't mean that she becomes your girlfriend. It means that you get a shot at a 9 or a 10, but if you're not a 9 or a 10 yourself, then you might struggle to keep her. And there's a lot of factors which prevent you from ever being a 9 or a 10. You know, maybe you're born into the wrong family. Maybe you don't have the education. Maybe you work really hard, but you just don't have the money. There's a lot of factors that are totally out of your control and that are not your fault. It's not that you're lazy. It's not anything. It's just that right now you're not capable of locking in that girl. And, well, game is the hack that gives you a taste. And the taste is magical. Trust me, it is awesome. So hopefully I think that's pretty comprehensive. I think I covered a lot of ground. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And in the description I have the 3-part video series on what is the sweet art of cold approach. Second video is indirect game and why it's the most advanced form of game. The third video is social anxiety, approach anxiety, and my morning routine for overcoming it. And also it comes with a free PDF. So click on the link and add your email address in there, and I'll get that out to you immediately. And I'll see you guys in the next video.